After marrying Emma, the childhood friend who never liked me but managed to keep me hooked for 10 years despite her leg injury, I made it my mission to take revenge on her. Every day I forced her into situations that would make her miserable. Victoria's face would flush red with anger as she threatened me, "Just wait until my leg heals, I'll kill you." I abruptly stopped what I was doing, but suddenly, floating text appeared before my eyes like a live-stream chat. The comments read, "The heroine is such a faker. Her legs are practically doing a full split, and she's still playing hard to get." Another added, "The guy should slap her across the face twice. Maybe that would snap her out of it." As I raised my hand to slap her, I froze midway. The next moment, I felt a wet sensation on my palm. She had licked it. I looked down and met Victoria's wide eyes, her tongue still not retracted. Her face showed a fleeting moment of astonishment before she quickly turned away, adopting her familiar defiant expression. She said, "Don't give me that look just because I licked your palm. You forced yourself on me so many times, but I'm not allowed to disgust you for once." Seemingly embarrassed, Victoria bit her lip and spoke softly. I was still distracted by the floating comments. Seeing me frozen in place, Victoria grew impatient. She glared at me and demanded, "Say something, are you so disgusted you can't even speak?" Then she suddenly leaned in and licked the corner of my lips twice, smirking triumphantly. "Disgusting, isn't it? Disgusting, disgusting, disgusting," she taunted. I was speechless. The floating comments erupted in laughter. "This crazy girl, she's on the verge of breaking down because the guy isn't paying attention to her, yet she's still acting tough." Another chimed in, "She's saying disgusting, but her legs are practically doing splits." Some comments were more critical. "Hey, where'd you guys get the workaround? All I see on my screen are blurred out mosaics." Another advised, "Dude, just leave. Walk away with a cold face. She'll cry alone in the room soon enough." Yet another claimed, "I know this plot. She'll cry louder and louder in the room until it wakes the guy up. He'll think she's burning something and come back to slap her twice." My face reddened with embarrassment. The floating text was relentless, especially when my movements became more forceful. But Victoria's expression of disgust didn't seem fake. The comments speculated that this woman who supposedly hated me might secretly like me. I didn't buy it. It must have been some dehydration-induced hallucination. Knowing how obsessive-compulsive I am, she dared to lick me clearly just to provoke me. As I was about to take things further, a small voice of doubt crept into my mind. Would she really cry? Emma and I had grown up together, practically like siblings fighting and bickering our way through childhood. She was stubborn, bratty, and strong-willed. Crying? Unlikely. I decided to take a gamble. Abruptly stopping, I pulled away completely. Victoria sat in her wheelchair, gasping for air, but quickly recovered, flashing a knowing smile. She scoffed, "What's the matter, Sincere? Got upset by my words again and decided to punish me?" Her gaze shifted to the corner where all the toys I'd bought to humiliate her were piled up. Victoria hated me, so I doubled down on my efforts to shame her. Over the past 6 months, that corner had become crowded with all sorts of toys. The comments exploded again. "Sis, stop fooling yourself. You know whether it's punishment or reward deep down." Another teased, "Look at those sultry eyes. Just admit it, what's your favorite toy this time?" Yet another lamented, "Why is there censorship here? Can't even see the good stuff." Shaking my head to clear my mind of the nonsense, I untied the ropes binding Victoria's wrists and walked straight toward the door. She stared at my actions in confusion, only realizing I wasn't reaching for a toy but actually leaving when I opened the door. Panic flashed across her face and she called out, "Where are you going?" I ignored her but couldn't resist the mischievous satisfaction of seeing her look so forlorn. Suppressing the urge to smile at the comments, I stiffly replied, "You don't like me. It's not like I like you either. Obviously I'm leaving. I've had enough fun. Whether you've had yours, who cares?" I stepped out of the room, pressing myself against the wall outside the door, waiting for any sounds of movement inside. Meanwhile, I mentally reviewed the plot points the floating comments had discussed. Initially, they had been focused on the developments between me and Victoria's sister, Sophia, but now the discussion had shifted entirely. Some comments speculated, "Get ready, the heroine's about to cry." Quick, record her vulnerable moment and hang it by her bed for playback, taking their advice. I whipped out my phone, hit record, and slid it through the door crack. Inside, the sound of crying grew louder and louder, resembling a boiling kettle. Victoria and I came from old money families, both deeply entrenched in luxurious wealth. To keep the businesses within the family, our parents had arranged for us to marry when we were kids. Victoria had an older sister, Sophia, who excelled academically and left for overseas studies after high school. To me, Sophia was just the brilliant neighbor's kid everyone admired. But Victoria was different. From the start, we were inseparable, partners in crime during our wild and reckless youth. Whether it was petty mischief or daring escapades, we'd been through it all together. If it were just about those carefree days. Victoria was not enough to convince me to choose her as my partner for an arranged marriage. After entering high school, certain things seemed to change imperceptibly. She no longer teased me or secretly ate the snacks I brought. She spoke less, but her thoughts seemed to multiply. On the first snowy day, a cup of hot cocoa quietly appeared on my desk. The good luck charm she got during New Year's prayers carried the warmth of her palm. The first postcard I received on Christmas depicted a small orange cat, and after the college entrance exams, she asked if I wanted to attend the same university as her. I took that as her subtle way of expressing her feelings and happily agreed. However, a month before our families were set to discuss the marriage arrangement, Victoria, for reasons unknown, went bungee jumping and ended up breaking her leg. That same day, my mother approached me with a hesitant look and said, "You know, Sophia is also a good choice. Your father and I feel she might be more suitable for you." My parents are compassionate people. They wouldn't dislike Victoria just because of her injury. Suspicious, I probed deeper until I discovered the truth. It turned out Victoria had learned that her long-admired white moonlight had fallen for someone else, which led her to engage in extreme sports and suffer the accident. She had kept it from me. She had been in love with someone for many years. Then what about me? What did all those ambiguous moments between us mean? Furious, I wanted to confront her, but when I saw her increasingly despondent demeanor and her immobile legs, all my anger instantly dissipated. In a fit of rage, I married her anyway. Not out of noble intentions, but because I believed people should bear the consequences of their actions. She had someone in her heart, yet unashamedly flirted with me, leaving me hopelessly ensnared like a fool. She had to pay for what she did. Sophia had never done anything wrong, and marrying her would have been unfair to her. As for Victoria, the white moonlight she longed for, I married her precisely so she'd never fulfill that dream. I decided to make her life miserable and humiliate her endlessly, as that was the fate she deserved. But now, the sudden appearance of live captions blatantly revealed that the person Victoria had liked all along was actually me. The captions continued with colorful commentary, startling me to the point where I dropped my phone, which hit the ground with a sharp crack. The sound of the kettle boiling inside the room abruptly ceased. I stormed in and slapped her twice. "Damn it, we've been married all these years, and you're playing mute literature games with me?" Victoria looked pitiful after the slaps, but her lips parted into a faint gasp. I was speechless. She seemed pleased. That only infuriated me further. The captions chimed in. "Who gets it, guys? Bro, you think you're punishing her, but for the heroine, it's actually a reward. Look, she's getting emotional." Normally, I would have responded with harsh, degrading, forced love, as per my usual temperament. My hand instinctively reached out but froze upon seeing the captions. Victoria tilted her head, biting her lower lip repeatedly, her misty eyes brimming with desire. When she noticed me pause and look at her, that yearning in her gaze vanished at lightning speed, replaced by a familiar disdain. I let out a bitter laugh, dropping what I was holding. Rising, I put some distance between us. I was beyond furious. Years of silence, and she expected me to guess her feelings? Fine, let's see how long she can keep pretending. I leaned in closer and said, "Do you know how I feel every time we engage in hateful intimacy?" Grabbing her chin, I stared into her beautiful, yearning eyes and continued, "Victoria, you've got a decent figure." She didn't respond but subtly puffed out her chest as if trying to prove something. I sneered and withdrew my hand from her face, my tone icy. That's all you have a decent figure. Did you think I actually liked you? Echoing her previous words, I said, You're wrong. This is just an arranged marriage, there's no love involved. Watching her face turn deathly pale brought me a sense of satisfaction. I turned, closed the door behind me, and left. That night, the kettle in Victoria's room boiled non-stop. After a restful night's sleep, I went downstairs in high spirits for breakfast. Sitting at the dining table, Victoria suddenly looked up. Her eyes lit up upon seeing me but quickly shifted away. Adjusting my sleeves, I picked up the bird's nest soup before me and casually asked, Is Sophia coming back today? Victoria's parents, now elderly, had planned to hand over the family business to us after our marriage. However, Victoria's injury complicated matters. The Sincere family is a top-tier household, yet I was already worn out managing my own company. Handling Victoria's family business was beyond my capacity. Left with no choice, they called Sophia back to temporarily take charge. If I recall correctly, Sophia was set to return soon. At the mention of her name, Victoria's lips instantly pouted high, then she buried her face in her bowl, devouring her food furiously. The captions popped up again. What's the heroine eating? That jealousy sure tastes good. Another read, Didn't the male lead notice? Every time he mentions her sister, the heroine loses it, someone else commented. Did the heroine cry all night? Look at those dark circles, they're as big as quail eggs. If the male lead doesn't speak up soon, she might swallow the plate along with her food. I paused mid-bite, contemplating. Accidentally catching a glimpse of her eyes, I had just opened my mouth when Victoria quickly lifted her head, grabbed a napkin, wiped her mouth, and looked at me with a disdainful expression. She said, The heating in the room is broken. I just didn't sleep well. I wasn't secretly crying because of what you said yesterday. Stop being so self-absorbed. You've said it yourself, we're just married for convenience, there's no love between us. Her little mouth opened, and she rattled off her words like rapid gunfire, so sassy. Feeling impatient, I waved my hand to interrupt her, pointed to the plate of dumplings in front of her and said, Pass me those dumplings. Seeing that I didn't care at all about what she had just said, Victoria's face went even paler. She froze in place, motionless. Nora, the housekeeper, sensed the tense atmosphere. She quickly put down what she was doing, picked up the plate of dumplings in front of Victoria, and handed it to me. I picked up one dumpling and stuffed it into my mouth. I then looked up at Victoria again, whose pale face regained a fleeting trace of color as she gazed at me expectantly. I spoke again. Pass me the dipping sauce too now. This time she looked as if she might keel over at any moment. Throughout the meal, Victoria was unusually quiet, not even a peep. After finishing the dumplings in front of me, I slowly got up, put on my coat, and headed for the front door. The nearly lifeless Victoria suddenly sat upright, her eyes fixed on me. As I turned the doorknob, she quickly called out, I haven't finished eating. Wait for me. I turned back slightly puzzled and said, I'm going to the airport to pick up Sophia. Your legs don't work well. Why would you go with me? With a clatter, Victoria's chopsticks fell from her hand. Her face was full of disbelief. Her voice rose several notches, almost screaming, Is today only important because it's her return date? I asked, What else would it be, she said. Did you forget that today is… Victoria gripped her wheelchair, almost standing up in anger. Her words came to an abrupt halt before she turned her back to me, muttering softly, Never mind. Go pick up my sis. I wish you two eternal happiness. I was speechless. She was being utterly ridiculous. Online commenters would later say, Here we go again, she's back at it. Just say something, for heaven's sake. Tell him today's the day for your rehab session. The one the male lead usually accompanies you to, he should have remembered, right? Someone comfort her. She's about to crumble. Another quipped, I bet she'll turn into a kettle once he leaves, crying and crying until all her luck dries up. Of course, I wasn't going to the airport solely to pick up Sophia. My company's workload had been piling up recently, and there was no time for idle chatter. I sped straight to the office, introduced Sophia to some important things briefly, and handed her a stack of documents. I said, Sophia, these are the major projects our family is currently working on. Take a look. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. She took the papers and sat at a nearby desk. I exhaled, planning to take a sip of water, when suddenly my phone on the table started buzzing incessantly. Unlocking the screen, I was bombarded with a cascade of messages. Sassy, did you pick up my sis yet? Another message. It's been 3 hours now. Why aren't you back? Yet another half hour has passed. Why haven't you replied? Sassy, are you on a date with my sis? The latest message popped up but was quickly withdrawn. Sassy, don't mind me, my second personality took over for a moment. No need to reply. I silenced the phone, still unable to figure out how Victoria's odd behavior was connected to Sophia. From childhood to now, the times I'd met Sophia could be counted on one hand. Though we were technically childhood friends, we always maintained a polite distance. Could it be that Sophia secretly had feelings for me? Was there some hidden secret between the sisters that I didn't know about? The curiosity gnawed at me. I decided to ask subtly. Handing Sophia a cup of water, I directly asked, "Do you like me?" Sophia's hand trembled, spilling tea on her skirt. Her meticulously applied makeup almost cracked, but she managed to maintain a sliver of composure. She frowned and said, "What are you talking about?" "Of course not. You're my brother-in-law." "Then that's strange," I said. "I don't like you either," she pressed further. "Is the reason for you and Victoria's strained relationship related to me?" I fell into silence. Sophia, as if walking on eggshells, added nervously, "You know, despite all this makeup, I look awful without it. Plus, I smoke, drink, and party a lot. Most importantly, I love boxing." Sophia finished her speech, staring at me with palpable anxiety. I was dumbfounded. I laughed and said, "No, Sophia, you've misunderstood. I don't like you either, and there's no need for you to put yourself down." She let out a deep sigh of relief, but a moment later her brows furrowed again. She said, "Still, something was odd the year you chose your marriage partner. That year, Victoria came to see me. The housekeeper said she was quite happy when she left, but when she came back, she was crying like a baby. Later, I walked out of my room and saw schoolbooks scattered all over the floor, along with a love letter from one of your high school classmates to me. Not long after that, Victoria had her accident and ended up losing the use of her legs. Returning home with lingering doubts, I found Victoria sitting in her wheelchair by the door. The moment she saw me and Sophia together, she suddenly sped up her wheelchair with surprising urgency. She said, "You're back." But as soon as the words left her mouth, her gaze froze, locked firmly on Sophia. She asked, "Sis, why is your dress wet?" Almost instantly, she understood it was another misunderstanding. Before I could explain, Victoria was already wheeling herself away, disappearing into the shadows. My mind was in chaos, and I didn't have the energy to worry about Victoria. Only when I lay down on the soft bed that evening and finally calmed down did I begin to ponder what might have caused Victoria to become like this. What misunderstanding exists between us? What had Victoria seen at Sophia's place that might have triggered her? Why would she go bungee jumping a month before the wedding alliance and break her leg in the process? According to the comments, she was madly in love with me, and the idealized love interest she mentioned was just a ploy to provoke me. I didn't have time to think it over further when the comment suddenly exploded. One read, "Is that wine bottle in the female lead's hand the one the male lead used to punish her last time? Why is it pixelated?" I was speechless. What was Victoria planning to do with a wine bottle? With a start, I leapt up from the bed and quietly crept into her room. Disjointed gasps floated out from the bathroom. Peeking through the slightly ajar door, I saw something indescribable. Despite knowing Victoria for so many years, I couldn't help but feel a bit embarrassed at that moment. "Sincere," the voice from the bathroom suddenly called out my name, startling me. I froze as though she had eyes on the back of her head. She continued murmuring, "Why do you hate me? Why did you send love letters to my sister? From childhood until now, I've always been the one by your side." Love letters. I was baffled. When had I ever sent love letters to her sister? She went on, "Why don't you like me? Why don't you like me?" Her voice turned into sobs. My mind was still trying to catch up when the familiar sound of boiling water interrupted my thoughts again. Smack, the sound of a slap rang out, startling me. She choked, "You liar, why did you lie to Sincere?" Another slap followed, though I couldn't tell where it landed. "You crippled leg," she said bitterly. "Sincere could never love someone disabled like me." After 2 minutes of silence, a sharp crashing noise erupted from the bathroom. "Anyway, Sincere doesn't like me. I might as well die," she shouted. Then came a loud thud. The wheelchair had tipped over, and Victoria had fallen hard onto the floor. Her head popped out, and we made eye contact through the bathroom door. I pretended not to have heard her self-talk, awkwardly rubbing my flushed ears as I fumbled around the room. "I dropped something in your room and came to retrieve it," I said. Scanning the area, I realized I hadn't left anything behind. Desperate, I grabbed the wine bottle from her hand. "I came to get this," I said. Just as I was about to leave, the woman behind me spoke weakly. "Could you help me up?" Only as I approached did I notice the scattered wine bottles behind her and the strong smell of alcohol emanating from her. This drunk woman had been secretly drinking quite a lot, it seemed. As I reached out to help her, she scooted back, dragging her legs behind her and retreating with alarming caution. Her face, marked with palm prints, was filled with wariness. "You're a man, don't touch me," she said, snatching the wine bottle back from my hand. Her eyes reddened as she added, "Why are you trying to steal my honey?" I was speechless. She was utterly drunk. Seeing her inching dangerously close to the toilet, I grabbed her face and forced her to look at me. "Do you have another honey besides me?" I asked. The question made my ears burn again. Despite all our years together, even during our more tender moments, we had never used such intimate terms for each other. Victoria stopped struggling under my grip. Her misty eyes stared at me for a moment before she abruptly lunged into my arms. She cried harder than a pig on New Year's Eve, tears and snot streaming down her face. "Why did you send love letters to my sister? Why don't you like me? Why do you hate me but still marry me?" she wailed. More love letters. My head was pounding. When had I ever sent Sophia love letters? The comments exploded again. "I can't believe this. Why can't Victoria see the comments? The love letter misunderstanding is so ridiculous." Another comment read, "What nonsense that was the male lead's high school friend trying to woo the female lead's sister. He used an envelope from the male lead's desk," someone else chimed in. "After the male lead graduated college and decided on an arranged marriage partner, Victoria bragged to her sister. And that's when she accidentally saw the letter on the table. Suddenly I remembered my high school graduation banquet. A buddy of mine had fallen head over heels for Sophia and dragged me home to pen a heartfelt 3,000-word confession of undying love for her. He had taken an envelope from my desk and sent the letter the next day. Of course, that brief infatuation fizzled out quickly. But damn it, I had written my name on that envelope years later. Through a misunderstanding, that envelope had been discovered by Victoria, leading to this mess. The absurdity of it all left me speechless. Meanwhile, Victoria clung to my chest, crying her heart out. "I swear, I never sent your sister a love letter." "You didn't even open the envelope to check," I said, trying to explain. My words felt futile as her wails grew louder. "And that's not all," she sobbed. "When we were in 6th grade, you said I was as fat as a pig and that you'd rather eat crap than marry me." I widened my eyes abruptly and asked, "Did I ever say something like that?" My mind spun in circles, but all I could recall was that Victoria had been a bit chubby as a child. Memories evaporated like air. She said, "I'd rather eat dirt than marry you. You're really awful." Smack. She was being too noisy, so I simply covered her mouth with a wine glass. The misunderstanding was resolved, or maybe not. Looking across the dining table at this sassy girl, who seemed to forget everything after sobering up and was now pulling some new antics, I was utterly exhausted. She mumbled, "My head hurts." In front of me, Victoria had her head wrapped in thick bandages, with only her eyes and mouth visible. Her left arm was in a sling, and there was even a bow tied across her chest. She explained, "I accidentally fell out of bed last night while sleeping. You'll have to take care of me for the next few days, okay?" Noticing my gaze on her, she shyly added, "Even though we're in a marriage of convenience, technically you're my husband. It's your duty to take care of me." Having witnessed her tantrum last night, having carried her to bed myself to avoid waking anyone, and having placed pillows around her to stop her from rolling off in her sleep, I remained silent. I simply nodded. Victoria's bandaged body trembled slightly, seemingly surprised at how cooperative I, who had always been at odds with her, was being. She tilted her chin up proudly, turned to face her sister Sophia, and said with a smug tone, "Sis, it's all my fault for accidentally falling. Sincere can't go to the office with you today." Sophia rolled her eyes, set down her bowl of oatmeal, muttered a string of curses, and stormed off. I chuckled, and so did the imaginary commentary in my mind. Excuse me, is the heroine cosplaying as a mummy? Seriously though, shouldn't she go to the hospital for injuries like that? Oops, she accidentally fell. Huh? Let me just say, this is the most over-the-top heroine I've ever seen. Victoria asked for water, and I brought it to her lips. She asked for fruit, and I peeled it for her. She needed to use the bathroom, so I carried her there. By the end of the day, this sassy girl was practically giddy with happiness. But then, while helping her bathe, she started spouting nonsense again. We're just in a marriage of convenience. You can't touch me. Hearing her haughty remarks as I was about to help her undress, I couldn't help but roll my eyes, pretending to be injured to gain my sympathy. Deliberately saying provocative things to rile me up, it was obvious what she was up to. Even the dumbest person could figure it out, so I decided to play along. My expression darkened as I gripped her chin and said coldly, "Behave yourself." Victoria's expression changed instantly. Her teary eyes glimmered with a strange excitement, as if she was thrilled to be in such close proximity to me for the first time in ages. She even forgot to resist and leaned closer, saying, "I missed a spot with the body wash, help me apply some." As I squeezed body wash onto her shoulder, I started to feel a bit flustered. Her graceful, smooth curves seemed to beg for my hand to linger. Then she complained, "The shower head's too high. Can you lower it?" I adjusted the shower head for her, only to have her knock it down again with her other hand. Feigning innocence, she pressed herself against me, her wet dress clinging to her body, and said pitifully, "I have a broken arm. Help me out, will you?" Her raspy voice, combined with the steam and the water droplets clinging to her long lashes, created an oddly sultry atmosphere. But when I glanced at her hand that was supposedly broken, holding the shower head without a hint of a tremble, I couldn't help but laugh softly. Sliding my fingers along her jawline, I said, "Then call me honey." The way she drunkenly called me that last time was so sweet it made my heart itch. As I applied more pressure with my hand, Victoria's lips parted slightly, but before she could say anything, the shower water suddenly turned cold, drenching the steamy atmosphere. Victoria immediately snapped back to her senses, quickly put some distance between us, and taunted, "You don't even like me. What are you doing? This is just a marriage of convenience. Don't you think calling you honey is a little too intimate? If you want to insult me, find another way. Don't you feel ridiculous saying that word yourself? If I call you honey, then I'm a dog." Any lingering passion I felt instantly evaporated. A little teasing is one thing, but pushing it too far is just annoying. She was the one crying in secret, the one playing hard to get in public, yet here she was, still rambling on. I had no patience left. I shut her up with a swift slap and said, "If you won't call me that, someone else will. Don't you remember what old Mr. Luce said? I can marry whoever I want." Rotating my wrist, I looked at her pale face with amusement and slowly delivered my next line. "Marrying your sister wouldn't be so bad, you know." Barely had the words left my mouth before Victoria, indignant and sassy just moments ago, put on an Oscar-worthy performance of a complete emotional meltdown. The commentary in my head chimed in again. One second, she's furious. The next, she's laughing through her tears. Who's barking? Oh wait, wasn't she the one who said, "If I call you honey, I'm a dog. Honey, honey, look at me." Noticing my silence, Victoria peeked up at me cautiously, her lips trembling. Finally, she muttered softly, "Woof, woof, woof." I was speechless. Looking utterly pitiful, she pleaded, "Please don't marry my sister. I promise I won't say stupid things anymore. I'll even get a lip piercing to keep my mouth shut. Just don't marry her, please." Boo-hoo. "Honey, don't divorce me. My leg's almost healed, I'm not crippled anymore. Please don't hate me." Sensing that this was about to spiral into yet another dramatic scene, I stood up quickly, leaving her in the bathroom. As a final touch, I kindly closed the door behind me. The soundproofing was excellent, ensuring that this high-pressure kettle wouldn't disturb anyone. Ever since that day, Victoria seemed to have completely lost her mind. Here's how it manifested. After her leg injury, Victoria almost entirely withdrew from attending social gatherings. One time, while I was introducing Sophia to some project partners, I suddenly heard the sound of wheelchair wheels rolling behind me. I frowned and asked, "What are you doing here?" Victoria, looking completely innocent, broke into a wide grin upon hearing my voice. She loudly called out, "Honey, what did you say? I can't hear you." I was speechless, unwilling to waste words on her. Yet she happily rolled her wheelchair behind me, telling everyone she encountered, "What did you say? How did you know this is my husband? My husband is amazing. Of course, my husband is the best. You're asking about the slap mark on my face? Oh, my husband's strength is incredible. He's so capable. And that wasn't even the worst of it. Whenever I wasn't home or if I left without informing her, I'd receive a barrage of terrifying messages. Honey, where did you go? Honey, I made blueberry cookies at home today. Come and try them tonight. Honey, I miss you so much. Honey, I made progress in rehab today. I can walk slowly on my own now. Honey, do you miss me? I was exasperated. She used the word honey like it was a comma. Fed up, I blocked her on messaging apps, finally enjoying some peace and quiet. But every night as I tried to sleep, I'd hear the persistent sound of a kettle boiling. After some time, Victoria suddenly became quiet. I thought my indifference had finally driven her to give up. But the next night, there was a sudden knock on my door. "Brother-in-law, open the door." "It's me, sis," came Victoria's voice from outside, mimicking her sister's tone. I was speechless. This lunatic has gone off the deep end, I thought. I opened the door in disbelief, only to find Victoria standing there, her hair styled in Sophia's signature waves. I nearly fainted. She was wearing Sophia's dress, stockings, and high heels. She even had a beauty mark at the corner of her eye, just like her sister's. Victoria stood at the door, her head bowed, looking pitiful. "Honey," she said softly, "I've been thinking a lot lately. I realize now that I've made you unhappy. I shouldn't have been upset just because you like my sister. I've thought it through. I'm okay if you want to marry her. I'm even willing to be the other woman. It's fine if you like her more. I can mimic her. Look, I'm wearing her dress, her stockings, her shoes. Even my underwear is hers. And look, my leg is healed now. I can walk almost like a normal person. While you love her, could you spare just a little bit of love for me, the other woman?" By the end, her voice was trembling with tears. I was almost moved. But why was I suddenly the target of such a ridiculous accusation? I quickly said, "I've never liked your sister. Don't make baseless claims." Victoria's face twisted in pain, as if she were deeply constipated. Suddenly her expression brightened, her eyes shimmering with joy. "You don't like my sister?" she asked. Then just as quickly her excitement dimmed. "Wait, does that mean my sister is just a stand-in for the person you truly like? Then what am I? 4th place? 5th place? Is it too late for me to get a number?" I was speechless, struggling to suppress the urge to slap some sense into her. "Why can't I just like you?" I asked. "The so-called love letters you talk about, I never sent those. Did you ever bother to open them and check? And you never share what's on your mind. How am I supposed to know what you're thinking?" Victoria, on the verge of tears, suddenly froze, her confusion apparent. She hesitated, then confessed everything she'd drunkenly mumbled to me that one night. "I'm not someone who likes to leave misunderstandings unresolved," I said. "If you like someone, you should boldly say so. If you don't, then you should be brave enough to say goodbye." "So the person you like is actually me?" Victoria asked, her eyes sparkling as she stared at me intently. Was that the takeaway here? After everything I explained, that was the only thing she heard. I was emotionally drained. People who are completely out of sync are destined to never see eye to eye. It's better to just call it quits. Suddenly, Victoria kicked off her shoes and slipped out of her outer dress. The straps on her legs nearly blinded me. "Where did you learn these seductive tricks?" I asked, swallowing hard despite myself. The outfit she was wearing looked suspiciously like one I had liked on social media. Victoria awkwardly moved closer, blinking slowly. "Honey," she said, her voice coy, "it's been so long since we've been intimate. Don't you miss me? As for the divorce, let's talk about it another day." I suddenly remembered what she'd said earlier about wearing her sister's clothes. Alarmed, I jumped up and asked, "Whose clothes are you wearing?" Victoria's gaze unfocused, her tear-filled eyes blinking slowly. "I was lying," she said sluggishly. "I'm a clean freak. How could I possibly wear her underwear?" Relieved, I leaned back down, ready to continue. Somewhere, a virtual audience commented, "Who turned off the stream? Aren't I a premium member? What can't I watch? Why did it cut off just as they kissed? Is that what I wanted to see? Never mind. I'll just wish the main character and his sassy sister a lifetime of happiness." Meanwhile, in an unnoticed corner, my phone buzzed several times before plunging into darkness. Sophia had sent several messages. "What are you two doing? Why do I feel like this involves me somehow? This is too much. Where are my clothes? Wait, are you two turning me into part of some role play? Unbelievable. By the way, Victoria's leg is better now, isn't it? It should be fine now. You guys were quite noisy." The last message was, "I'm leaving the country. Flying out tonight with no hesitation. Got 2 lunatics here, one crazy husband and one crazy wife. I'm done with the company. Whoever wants to take over can do it. This is Victoria's side story. I have a boy I like. His name is Sincere. We grew up together, and I always thought we'd end up like the characters in a romantic novel, childhood sweethearts turned lovers, until the day Sincere chose his marriage partner. I was so sure he would choose me. But when I went to tell Sis about it, I found a love letter on the table. The envelope was signed by Sincere. How could it be? How could he secretly have feelings for my sister? They've barely met a few times, and yet so many of Sincere's firsts in life were shared with me. My heart ached like it was bubbling over. I clenched my fists, barely holding on to the last bit of strength, and ran out of the room. The housekeeper couldn't sense my sadness and even teased me, saying I cried like a water buffalo. That day it rained heavily and the roads were slick. I thought, why not just jump into the river and end it all? But dying would hurt too much, so I decided to go bungee jumping instead. What a disaster. An accident left me with a broken leg. Sincere ended up choosing me for marriage after all. I guess it was because of my injury. Poor me, right? Well, I spoke too soon. It seems he wasn't pitying me at all. He grabbed me and completely ignored my protests. He even took advantage of the fact that I couldn't move my legs to force himself upon me. He likes my sister but forces himself on me. Does he want everything? How greedy can he be? In a fit of anger, I wanted to reprimand him for his behavior, but under his advances, I found myself willingly giving in. If he doesn't love me, so be it. As long as he's willing to stay by my side, I wouldn't mind being forced by him for a lifetime. Sincere really does love my sister. He told me he wanted to marry her instead. I refused to be the other woman, but eventually I gave in. I decided to be Sincere's mistress. It's been 3 months now, and he hasn't spoken to me. Cold and distant whenever we meet. He's even blocked me on messaging apps. It hurts so much, like I'm about to die. I miss his Sincere style slaps. I miss his forcefulness. I miss the way he spat out insults. I miss everything about him. I can't live without him. As long as I can see him, what does being the other woman matter? Haha. I'm not the other woman, I'm his most beloved baby. Much later, as I lay beside Sincere while he slept, I thought back to the year when things were the most strained between us. I secretly consulted the internet about a question: why do I always end up saying the opposite of what I feel to the person I love? Why do I adore him so much, yet inexplicably hate him at times? They told me, what do you hate? You just hate that the person you love doesn't love you enough. Jealousy had turned me into someone unrecognizable, yet it was all self-delusion. But now, the overwhelming happiness that comes with bearing my true feelings almost consumes me. Don't say the opposite of what you mean. Don't be cold to the person you love.